Hi, and welcome to Together Unlocked, brought to you by Together 2012. We're a disabled led arts organisation in the main London 2012 host borough of Newham. With me in my East London studio today, as always, is the artist Julie Newman. She's the chair of Together 2012 and also documents other artists' work. I'm going to go, before I give you any more introductions and audio description, to the other end of our virtual sofa, or I should say to the other ends of our virtual sofa in the West Midlands, because for reasons which they will explain, they're in different rooms. I just want to let everybody else who's producing this stream know we have got some sound bleeding through. It sounds like people writing on paper. I suspect when they updated the software for this live casting platform, the mute buttons didn't work properly. I know we had them on Wednesday, so just to let everybody know. Right, without further ado, let's start with Robin, who is in the usual studio but not on the same computer. So you look strangely dark today.
Yes, who knows what's going on with this, with the magic, the dark magic of the internet and digital machines. So hi, I'm Robin Surgeonator. I am the business director at Together 2012, and I am currently sat at one end of a very large horseshoe-shaped Together Unlocked TV studio sofa. Gosh, I got that out. Don't ask me to repeat it.
You could just turn yours around and Robin.
Yes, real problems. It keeps turning itself up, and I have no idea why.
Yes, we're back to your usual sound now. So we've got the mice scratching away in the corner. We've got Robin at the bottom of a well, but it keeps turning him up. Happy Friday. Why don't we just hop over to Josh for a minute?
Hi, so I'm Josh, and I'm one of the other hosts of Together Unlocked TV, and I am a PhD research student in my spare time when I'm not hosting TV shows on the internet.
And you're currently, even though you've moved back home, enjoying the full student experience because you were exposed to coronavirus. And even though you've had a negative test, you're still doing your 14-day isolation as required by the government. Is that up tomorrow? Am I right in thinking?
Yes, today is my final day, so I can be released back into the world tomorrow.
So if anybody else was really disappointed that they weren't going back to university, you too can join in the student experience from home, just like Josh. Robin, I'm hoping you'll be able to control your sound long enough to introduce you. And then I've just remembered, of course, we didn't let Josh give us a chance to do any audio description. But because Friday is also our dressing up to go out to stay in day, why don't you also tell us, Robin, what you're dressed up to go out to stay in to do, and we'll take it from there.
I will do, and in the best parlance of studio engineering, I'm riding the fader to try to stop my sound from. It's just turning itself up as I speak. It's very weird. Anyway, so today I've got a silvery white hair with black streaks. Obviously, they are low lights, and no rims, black arms, glasses. I'm looking slightly red in the face, as if I've just had a hot sauna. It was a shower today, and I'm wearing, in terms of getting dressed up to go out. Now, this screenshot is only showing my my neck. I'm wearing a round. Oh, here we go. There you get to see it. Right. So I am wearing I think it's called a cowl neck, not being that fashion knowledgeable, a cowl necked short sleeved t-shirt, and it says on it, "Out of my mind," and a kind of very, I don't know, theatre noir or film noir kind of black and white photo. But I'm dressed out to go to a wellness cafe this evening, where hopefully the wellness cafe is going to come to me, and it's a wellness cafe is a bit like a way where you can go and be artistic, share some thoughts, but just simply share some time and feel good about yourself.
Brilliant. And I think you're getting louder all the time. So it's going to be a fun hour, isn't it? We just love live streaming. Josh, let's come back to you for some audio description and what you're dressed up to go out to stay in to do.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anyone that's wearing headphones for today's show, like I am, sorry, because my ears they're a little bit blown out. So yeah, you might need to kind of turn yourselves down slightly. So in terms of my dressing up, I am wearing a white t-shirt that's got black stripes on the shoulders. It has a 3/4 or a quarter zip, and then on the left-hand breast it has MH, and there's a little flame coming off the H, and that is for Miami Heat, which is a basketball team. And I am dressed up to go to the NBA, or the National Basketball Association finals, because they started on Wednesday, and Miami are one of the teams that are playing in that final, and I am a supporter of the team, so I'm dressed up to go and support them in their pursuit of a championship.
Well, that sounds fabulous. I'm just going to take Robin out of the stream a minute in case he wants to go and restart his computer rather than, what was that quaint phrase, rising the fader or phaser for the rest of the show. Fun though it would be for the rest of us to watch. So I'm Ju Gosling, also known as the artist Ju90. I have a short tenured corona crop, bit moth-eaten because it's self-administered. I look very much like my assistant's dog Jazz, who got done with the same shears. I've got black plastic glasses, I've got black wrist braces, I've got silver coloured jewellery, and I have a bright fuchsia pink t-shirt. It says Superwoman on it in a kind of Superman style letters, and it has the image of a woman from the developing world carrying Superman on her head in one of her traditional baskets. And it was just I think it's a very old t-shirt. I was saying before we started, I think it must be at least 25 years old. And it came from a development magazine originally called New Internationalist. The point that I think it's trying to make is that actually the work, the physical work that women do, make them the real superwomen. Funnily enough, in the late 90s, I met Jermaine Greer at a conference, and she was presenting some research which she'd done around women around the world. And it was a series of photographs. And so she'd got photographs from the developing world showing the women doing all the physical work and the men either walking next to them or being rowed across lakes and things. And then she had a set of photographs from the UK of women carrying all the shopping out of the supermarket, followed by the husband who'd just got the child in his hand, and so on and so forth. It was very, very funny. So apparently it is a statistical fact that in most of the world, women do most of the physical labour, but of course they are overwhelmingly women of colour. So I'm dressing up to go out to stay in to celebrate Black History Month. We're going to be celebrating Black History Month on this show throughout the month. And in fact, coming up, we have our first profile of one of our disabled artists of colour, Jade Sempare. But that's what I'm dressing up to go out to stay in to do. And in the second half of our show, in our Something for the Weekend feature, we'll be telling you about lots more things you can do to celebrate Black History Month from home, as well as other things too. So, Julie, you've been really patient. Who are you? What do you look like? And what are you dressed up to do?
I'm Julie, also known as Julie. I'm the chair of Together 2012. Today I'm going to New Zealand to check out those boats that Josh was talking about. I've got a navy blue short-sleeved shirt on. It's got sailing boats on it in blue, red, white, and boat colour, sort of brownish, with little waves. I just remembered in the 80s there was a feminist film called The Power of Men is the Patience of Women, which is quite fitting, I think.
Yes, it does sound like that. Robin, give me a wave from the staging if your problems are resolved. So, well, he's
Sam.
Let's welcome him back
Let's
anyway.
welcome you back, but I think Josh was saying that when that voice goes up, it really does blow you if you're listening on headphones. So
Okay, how is it now?
it's creeping up again. Did you do a restart? Sorry, viewers.
Yeah, it's obviously trying to find its own level, and it just keeps changing it.
We're trying very hard, as you can tell, to replicate the entire experience from families around the country at the moment. So the real computer is in the student's room. The parent is managing on a totally inadequate computer. The student is probably driving the parent mad, but at least we're not having to send telegraphs from Sheffield saying, send me food and take me home. So, yeah, we're celebrating back to university this week, aren't we?
Yeah, I was going to say, just following on while Dad sorts his sound out around kind of the role of women, especially kind of women of colour. I was watching something a couple of weeks ago around this device that was kind of an electric-free kind of insulated slow cooker that's been kind of invented and used a lot in kind of African nations because of the kind of real health issues that a lot of those women face of having to kind of collect all the firewood and then kind of sit in, next to open fires for kind of hours at a time. The real negative health impacts of kind of inhaling all of that smoke. So yeah, I thought it was, really interesting, a really simple kind of insulated bag, and all of a sudden it kind of removes that burden of having to collect it all and kind of the environmental positive from that, but also the kind of massive benefit it has for people's health. And I just thought it kind of fitted quite nicely into what you were saying there, Ju.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Josh. We have a highlights and links page under our main Together Unlocked TV page on our website, and I'll put that address up again in a minute. It's www.together2012.org.uk, although other combinations like .com will actually work. There's just one, so I'll definitely put that link up there. There's just one more dressing up to go out to stay in. We welcome your contributions. We don't get as many as we'd like. So please, if you feel like dressing up to go out to stay in, whether you're going to a Zoom party in real life or a Zoom wedding, or indeed if you just want to dress up to do something outrageous and send us a picture or a film, we would love to show it. Last week, Julie's cat dressed up to go out to stay in by wearing a cabbage leaf on its head. It is a very strange cat. But again, under the Together Unlocked TV page, there is a page called Together Unlocked Animal Hosts. So the random pets that you see appearing all have a little bit more information and more photographs. This is actually my assistant's dog, Jazz. And Jazz is dressed up to go out to stay in to watch England play football. I didn't realise that dogs actually wore fancy dress till I met Julie 20 years ago, but now I have a dressing up bag, and this is actually an outfit from my previous dog who Julie taught to play football. So there you go. That was Jazz dressed up to go out to stay in to watch England play football. We used to, well, in fact, our registered office is round the corner, literally from the old West Ham Stadium. So we used to have a very close connection with Upton Park and West Ham. And in fact, the last dog was a Westie, so we used to call it Westie Ham. So that's our dressing up to go out to stay in. Is there anything else, please remind me, that we should be catching up on before we move on again?
Just to mention the Zoom together last night. I thought it was excellent. It was lovely to see everybody, and there was a very good participation. Lots of people joined us, and there was a lot of chat. And because it was National Poetry Day, there was poetry.
Yes, thank you for reminding me, Julie. I knew there was something huge. So on Wednesday, when we celebrate our poetry programme anyway, we were reading poems to celebrate National Poetry Day, which was yesterday, from the Together Pop-Up Poetry Club. Just to remind people and for new viewers, we run an outreach program all year round, which is free for disabled people and whoever they want to bring with them. It covers all of the art forms through the year that we deliver. So everything from dance, photography, filmmaking, carnival art, street art, visual art, and of course poetry and spoken word. And then we have our associate drama company, Act Up Newham, and our associate wheelchair dance company, Folk in Motion. We're going to put a film on at 3:30 or thereabouts to tell you a little bit more about that and how you can join in from home with those clubs. But in the meantime, as part of our digital year, we have just launched a new series on Zoom. Zoom Together is the first Thursday of each month from 7 to 8, and we've been running that since June. It's an open mic poetry and music event, but last night it was poetry only, and it was great. Everybody there who wanted to had the chance to read 2 poems, and we also welcomed Rich Downs from Highgate Poetry Society, who read 3 of his poems as a guest. This morning, I'm delighted to say, we ran our very first Zoom art club. So we're going to be telling you more about that next week. But essentially, our club's program, of course, is suspended in real life. And what we've been doing is running our pop-up poetry club as a phone-based group on a Wednesday morning where we phone you and we pay all the bills. But people have simply been working from home with one-to-one support to draw up their own kind of creative home-based program. What we're now doing is running shorter clubs on Zoom for those who've got data access. So Friday mornings is a still life class. I haven't had any of the pictures through to show on the stream today, but I'm hoping to have some to show on Monday. So the way it works is it's a really simple thing. Alison Marchant, the international artist who's our part-time clubs program leader, creates a still life image. She shares that screen with everybody else. People come along, they use whatever materials they want to. So that might be pencil, crayon, pastel, paint, felt tip, anything else you can think of. And then they're just showing each other their work and having a chat through the time. Tuesday, the art club would usually be craft based. So on Tuesdays, we're going to have again from 11 to 12 make and natter. So that can be either bringing your own things that you're working on. It might be decoupage, it might be knitting, it might be crochet, you might be making pom-poms, you might be making cards. Anything you want to bring along with a cup of tea or a cold drink, we're not fussy, and just join in and have a bit of a natter about creative matters. If you're interested in more details, we've also got a little bit of advice about how you can access, if you're in Newham, some digital device, some support with training and so on. So that is available as well. And on Mondays, we will be restarting our monthly clubs. So the second Monday will be Photography Club. Very, very fortunately, our dance club already exclusively made dance for film. So, yes, I think we're expecting that. So we're going to be reporting back. These clubs have always been open to anybody who wants to join and not just people from Newham. We don't ask you to provide evidence that you're disabled. We take your word for it. And that could mean that you have a learning difficulty, a mental health difficulty, a long-term health condition, you're a wheelchair user, you're hard of hearing. You know, we're very inclusive. We're a social model of disability organisation. So if you're interested, I'm going to put the details up on highlights and links, and then you can contact Noel at together2012.org.uk, and Noel will give you more information and the Zoom links. Julie, was there anything you wanted to add?
No, I don't think so. Just to say that it's exciting to have the Zoom access, isn't it? You know, sort of it's something that we'd wanted for a long time.
Yes, I think we held back because we weren't sure what was going to happen, and also because we do know that many people cannot get digital access. I think what's changed us has been all of the new laws that say you have to go online. You know, you have to, if you want to go to the cinema, you want to go to the theatre, you want to go to a restaurant, any kind of cultural life, and indeed everything else, you're going to have to go online to book. So we feel it's important to kind of encourage people online, give them content online, but we still will be adding lots and lots of activities as well to our Join In From Home programme. And they're generally activities that you can explain to somebody over the phone very easily. So if you've got friends, they don't have to be disabled, who don't have internet access, would like to be a bit more creative and are feeling isolated, please do share those. So next we move on to what's going to be a regular feature of every show, where we're profiling disabled artists of colour. We want to start with some of our locally based artists, and we're also occasionally going to be looking at other historic figures from Newham. So on Monday, when we look particularly at film photography and performance, I'm going to be telling you about Josie Woods, who is one of the greatest dancers and choreographers of the 20th century and was born right here in Canning Town. She's not made the book of the 100 Greatest Black Britons or indeed the website, but they have retweeted my tweet asking why not. But in the meantime, this is an introduction to Jade Sempare. Jade, you will have seen if you're a regular viewer throughout the time performing with Act Up Newham. They've had a summer break, and we'll be giving more news of what they'll be up to next on Monday. So this is I think it's a 5-minute introduction and profile to Jade.
My name's Jade Amma Sempare, and I am very creative. I help the actor group through their creativeness, and I dance, and I act, and I try to sing. Yeah.
Here is a story that is very old. When people lived in darkness and the cold.
We've done a whole range of songs in theatres and schools and just outside, and I was many roles in those productions. Hello to all you out there in normal life. You may not comprehend my tales or even understand as I crawl past your windows. You give me looking looks. You carry my body, but you never can read my books. I'm playing the character called Tessa in the production, and Tessa looked back at the circus and why and how they made disabled people During lockdown, we have come together and we have been making projects online and stuff so that everyone can watch us. And we have been so creative and we have been the best.
So thank you very much, ACT UP, and to Hannah Facey, who recorded that interview. ACT UP Newham, so far as I'm aware, are the only disabled-led theatre company in the UK led by people of colour. And in fact, I think there's only one member of the company who's not an artist of colour, and she's European and speaks in sign, so they're incredibly diverse. I look so forward to introducing you to more of them, including artists who you've also seen making artwork. So Pritesh Patel, for example, has also sent us some wonderful drawings, but we're going to hear more about Pritesh later, and the others including Grace Fundu, Arwa Signe, and others. And like I say, we'll also be looking at some national and international artists of colour through the month and other historic figures that are relevant to Newham. So I'm really looking forward to all of that. Did anybody want to add anything to that? I think you were saying what a great production When You See Me was.
Oh, I thought it was amazing. It was extraordinarily well acted. It was well written. It was well produced. And I just was completely blown away by it. It was one of the few productions of any sort, you know, on the television, film, whatever, that actually challenged the concept of circuses and disabled people, other than anything that Matt Fraser's done, obviously. But this was a very different production than anything that Matt does.
Yes, so just to explain to the Surgeoners and the viewers, one of the productions we saw at the end was a production called When You See Me. And that was commissioned by Together 2012 for our 2018 Disability History Month Festival and premiered at Stratford Circus 1. It was due to tour, but like everything else, that's a little bit been postponed. And it was responding to the Circus 250 anniversary and saying that wasn't something that disabled people and people of colour were celebrating. So it looked very much at the disablism and the racism of circus history. And it was just a very, very powerful production. The way that ACT UP make productions is the company devise them themselves. And even with a historic production, they're still drawing on lived experience. So I believe that started with a very intensive week's company research, and they also looked at what was relevant to their own lives and drew up characters based on that. They're working, or have been for quite a long time, working with a director and writer, Trevor, whose full name escapes me, but will come back to me. And he's locally based and has been for decades as well. And he's developed a really good writing style. So he's able to facilitate without taking over from this really unique theatre making process. And there's such great shows as well, because although that was beautifully lit and had a wonderful stage set, it is possible to tour it with much, much less. And something that's always struck me about ACT UP Newham is the way they're able to use projections. You know, they use a few props and projections, and they can really pop up and produce those things anywhere. So, of course, they're actors. They love being in a proper theatre, but they're just as stunning, if not more so, in a community centre or a school. And indeed, in more usual years, our own artistic policy is very much based on the Edinburgh Fringe. We bring you very high quality productions, whether they're amateur, professional, or international, but in intimate community settings close to home. This is, of course, partly because Newham has no cultural facilities outside Stratford. But by 2022, we expect either to have opened, but at least to have laid the foundation stone for our own home at the David Morris Cultural Centre. So I'm going to tell you a bit more about that later in the year. But now I'm going to put on a video that will tell you a little bit more about how you can join in from home without joining in with the Zoom clubs or the phone club. Together 2012 is running a Join In From Home programme from our website, together2012.org.uk. Click on the link at the top of the page, Join In From Home, to go straight to the main page where you have a wide range of accessible, inclusive creative activities, mostly using things that you would already have at home. At the top of the page and throughout the pages, you will also see videos in British Sign Language to translate the site for deaf people. These videos can also be useful if you have difficulties reading and you simply want to hear more of the content. The Join In From Home programme is based on the activities that we would usually be running in East London. So, for example, we have an arts club which usually operates on a Tuesday with craft-based activities and on a Friday morning for drawing and painting. Here you can join in with the arts club's Hands project and celebrate your uniqueness and membership of the human race. There are full instructions on the linked page here. But essentially, we invite you to draw around your hand on a piece of card. It could be an old cereal packet. Cut the shape out, turn it over, and decorate it with anything you would like to do. It could be paints, crayons, glitter, collage, beads, leaves, anything you can think of. Photograph your hand or hands and send it to us at tv@together2012.org.uk. We'll add it to our video installation and share it on social media. Our music club usually meets on the first Friday of each month. We have an open mic session and we invite everybody to play along with percussion instruments. So here you can learn how to make your own percussion instruments from recycled materials. And you can also join in a percussion workshop from last summer in terms of Carnival Percussion. So these three instruments are used most often in Carnival. We have a shaker and a go-go and a hand drum. So this is how to make a recycled shaker, a recycled go-go, and a recycled hand drum. You can also, if you're technically minded, make your own tactile sound instrument. This does require a few simple electronics, but is a very interesting and exciting project as part of our Vibrafusion ongoing work. You can also listen with Together. We have Spotify playlists created by Robin Surgeonator, also known as our TV presenter Angry Fish, and we also have 2 classical music playlists from Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra, including one that's uniquely suited to people who are feeling very unwell. So, do we have anything to follow that up, Julie?
Well, I was just thinking more about the Black History Month, but I'm not sure whether you want to bring that in yet.
Yeah, certainly we can move straight on to something for the weekend, but I just wondered if there were any comments about the video that we've just seen or anything anybody wanted to add. I mean, it's great that the art club is now back on Zoom as well.
You know, I was just going to add to the previous video from Jade, kind of become aware of ACT UP and kind of familiar with the kind of members of the company through doing the show, but kind of not really being aware of their work prior to that. I really enjoyed seeing, even though we're kind of short snippets of some of their kind of actual in-person performances that they'd done. I kind of really enjoyed it, even though there were those kind of snapshots. It was quite interesting to hopefully at some point in the future be able to see the rest of those performances.
I think that's a really excellent point, Josh. We're certainly going to be seeing more excerpts from ACT UP material as we profile the company. But also, I can't recommend their YouTube channel strongly enough. It's just ACT UP Newham. We all seem to have exclamation marks in our names, so they're ACT UP exclamation mark Newham. We don't have a full-length video of that show, and I tell you for why, because it was literally the premiere, and there was a heckler. Can you believe? Way through, and that was when I realized that it's not much fun being an event organizer in a wheelchair if you can't get up the stairs to deal with the person who's causing the problems. So we decided that for those reasons we wouldn't release a full video of that show, although I think there might be some more excerpts up there, but it will still tour. I mean, I think the thing is, circus history is never going to cease being relevant, or certainly not in this century. One of the other things I really love about ACT UP is they're a training company. So quite a few members come through, go on to higher education. And of course, people come back. I mean, Arwa, for example, has done a residential course for 2 or 3 years and then come back. But they keep their performances remain relevant. So they have this, they're an ensemble company, and they have this whole catalogue of shows that they can and will bring out again, sometimes with the same actors, and often with not a complete change of cast. But the other thing that I firmly believe is that if you're an actor with learning difficulties and it's taken you a lot longer to learn the script, it's nonsense to just kind of abandon that production and move on, as opposed to extend your range and extend it. And then you can go and tour, and you can even take more than one show along at once. So, yeah, we're very big fans of ACT UP. But now we will move over properly to something for the weekend, which is our weekly feature where we recommend things you can do online and offline without leaving your home. Infections with COVID-19 rose 41% here in the last 7 days, and East London is really a sort of red blob on the map. So wherever you are, our message, as always, is stay home and stay creative. That is the way to stay well. Who wants to kick off? I know we have some other things, but we've got lots of Black History Month things. Yes, Josh, Robin?
I'll go. Let's see if this works, at least for a bit. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, jolly good. Okay. Well, I'll do both of mine because they're not too complicated, and just in case it decides to, as I watch it get louder. So the first one, I thought was a nice little simple craft activity, and it's simply called Make Your Own Terrarium. Which is kind of like a tiny, minuscule indoor warehouse. No, greenhouse, not a warehouse. Sorry, I'm watching this go up and down like a up and downy thing.
How you're a poet, can't you? Such a way with words.
It is. I mean, I think it's based in America, but it's on Sunday night from 7 till 8 on BST, and it is an Eventbrite event, but it's free to do. Although if you do kind of like what they show you, then you will have to go and invest in some plants and I guess some kind of enclosure to create your terrarium in. So for those who don't know, a terrarium is a kind of, like an indoor greenhouse almost. I'm sure there's a much better description than that somewhere. And then my second event, you know me, I like my music and I like my beats. There is something called the World Fate 2 Live, or World Fate Live 2, following on from an earlier COVID or lockdown linked live DJing event. This one looks pretty good as well. The link is on the page. And, if you need a bit of party music to uplift you over the weekend, then why not listen to the world's best soccer DJs?
Yes, I think I could really get into that myself, given the amount of Europop that blasts through the wall in the other direction. Although, of course, I never have actually bothered to check with the neighbours whether they object to the use of this as a studio. I'm sure they can't hear us because at least we have soundproofing. So those were not Black History Month. But so just to clarify for any confusion, something for the weekend is all our recommendations for the weekend. I invested recently in air plants. I keep reading about how popular house plants have become during lockdown, and for various reasons involving 5 cats, there's a real limit to how many larger plants I can put in. But air plants are brilliant. You know, you can just pick them up, apparently dump them in a bucket of water for a few seconds once a week, put them back up again, or you can glue them to things and just give them a bit of a mist. So I'm an air plant convert. I think the easy way to do indoor gardening is air plants.
Or as Robin suggested, the terrarium. The word comes from the Latin terra, which is earth, and it's basically it's like a bottle or an enclosed glass area, as Robin explained. But one of the joys of it is you don't have to water it. It keeps the water in, it keeps the moisture in, which is why it's very exciting. And I shall really want to hear all about that, Robin.
I think we're going to have to go to Josh next, because as I understand it, younger people, by which I mean under the age of 30, actually take their houseplants much more seriously than us. I mean, here we are going, let's see how we can join in with the young people's hobbies with minimal amounts of effort. We don't want to water them, whatever else we do. So what have you got for us today, Josh?
So I had a few different links. I'll do my kind of Black History Month ones first, and then we can come back to the other ones later. So the two that I had are both kind of Netflix related. So the first one, there's a collection on Netflix called Black British Stories, which is kind of a collaboration between Netflix and I'm really hoping I'm going to pronounce this right. Adeyemi Michael, who is a British Nigerian filmmaker. Netflix kind of approached him and said, can you kind of curate a selection of films and stories to celebrate Black History Month? So on the highlights and links page, there is a direct Netflix link to that collection, as well as links to his tweet about the project, so you can then follow him for updates on it. And then also Netflix's own tweet about the collection, which has a list of, I think, 16 kind of films and stories. They're all British related, but if you also just put in Black History into the search bar in Netflix, it brings up a long list of kind of works that are more international, and there's a lot of kind of American based ones in there as well.
I have to say, it's just been so wonderful to see everybody making so much more effort this year as a result of Black Lives Matter. I just hope they continue to do so. Julie, shall we come to you and then go back to Josh?
Yeah, sure. I was quite interested in the origins of Black History Month, especially because the theme for this year is African Americans and the vote. It's the anniversary of the 1870 15th Amendment to the Constitution, and it's the right of Black men to vote after the Civil War. It was quite an impressive piece of legislation, but at the moment, I think it's going to be equally followed by a piece of Californian legislation which passed this week, whereby the state of California is allowing claims by descendants of slaves to make a claim for compensation. How far it will get, I don't know. At the moment, it's gone through to the consultation stage, but it was just such an amazing thing to have actually happened.
I know, and it recalls to me, and again, not the kind of thing we were taught in the school in terms of the history of slavery, that so many slave owners were paid off that we only repaid the loans Britain had to take out a couple of years ago. And of course, if you look at how wealth's inherited, you know, not only did those families benefit from slavery, but they also benefited from having their slaves' freedom bought from them. And I was shocked, but I suppose I shouldn't have been, to learn that David Cameron was indeed one of those people. So, you know, unfortunately, the reality is that their private education and their university and everything else, you know, is still directly coming from the proceeds of slavery. And I think, you know, particularly looking at the divides we have today between the young people who've been able to access education through lockdown and those haven't, you know, there is this direct educational link as well, right back to slavery. I mean, I find it extraordinary. Well, there's so many things, aren't there? But I mean, it's very hard for us to understand a mentality that would compensate people for human rights abuses. Moving on,
It's ridiculous.
cheerful, but you know, there's a very, very serious side to Black History Month, and indeed to the whole of this year. So, what's your next Black History Month recommendation, Julie?
I've got a lot of links which talk about the background of Black History Month. There's a link to the Black History Month website itself, which is full of information, and it's got films. There's a film coming up on that which I'm quite interested in, which is called The Empire of Cricket, and it's the story of the West Indies cricket team, which I think is going to be lovely. I do like cricket. I don't know a lot about it, but I enjoy it very much. The BBC's got a range of educational films, again linked directly to Black History Month, although they're primarily for schools. They really do. They look very good. Excuse me, and they feature a lot of individuals.
And can I just add, if we didn't learn it at school, then we've got to educate ourselves now.
right,
So whatever
yeah.
age we are, I think we could do with reading some of those resources.
Absolutely, and the Eventbrite are issuing a range of tickets, but they seem to be actual events rather than online events. ITV has done a very good thing. It's commissioned a series of idents for the whole of Black History Month, made by Black filmmakers. Heart Radio are promoting a load of films, and Channel 4 is as well. I was quite excited to find, though, the Maritime Museum, the Royal Maritime Museum, have got virtually everything that they've got on their website for Black History Month is online. So, you know, I like that very much, and especially given the maritime association with slavery and the growth of the empire.
Well,
Yeah.
of course, East London has got so many connections, you know, and indeed, I think the wall that we used to drive around on a very, very regular basis is still the old slave wall that used to be there next to the docks. You know, again, you know, absolutely chilling. I mean, for families who can trace their descendants, which include a number of our regular participants, it just must be a horrible thing. You know, it was left standing because it was listed, but I tend to think it should have come down. So, Josh, I think you had some more things for us, and then I'll come back to Julie.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to what Julie was saying about the new California law. I was lucky enough that I studied American civil rights at school, and part of that was kind of African American rights. And one of the films on Netflix is a film called The Five Bloods, which is a film about kind of the terrible treatment of Black Americans and Black veterans. But it's produced by a company called 40 Acres and a Mule Filmmakers or Filmworks, which is a very kind of, I guess, satirical name, which was kind of a reference to the broken promise of the kind of reparations paid to free slaves after the Civil War that never happened. And that was in kind of 1865. So the fact that it's 2020 and they're still going to decide whether to do it is just absolutely shocking. But on my other links for the weekend, quickly, I've recently joined a Reddit community called Listen to This. So Reddit is a
Thank you.
Reddit is a website that there's kind of communities for pretty much anything you can think of. And then people will kind of post links and blogs and discussions and things in it. So listen to this. There's currently about 16.3 million people. And it's a kind of way to discover new music and kind of smaller artists that kind of aren't kind of mainstream. So I've been kind of flicking through that and finding some new things that I've been listening to and really enjoying. So I'm going to be kind of perusing that over the weekend to find some new tunes. And then the final one, we had International Poetry Day on Thursday, and it was International Podcast Day on Wednesday, which I saw because the Paralympic Games was tweeting about it, and they were promoting their podcast they launched at the end of August called A Winning Mindset, Lessons from the Paralympics. And it's kind of interviews with Paralympians and people kind of very high up in the Paralympic movement around their kind of journeys and experiences, and talking around issues of kind of activism and leadership and motivation and kind of changing attitudes in society. It just sounds really, really interesting. And that kind of comes out once a week. So I'm going to be kind of working my way through the back catalogue of that over the weekend as well.
So we'll pop something onto the highlights and links page, and we might even come back to that on Monday when we have our regular update feature. Julie, I think you've just got a final couple of links for us.
I do. One of our associates, Renee Wallen, suggested this for us. It's a film on Netflix called Self-Made, and it's inspired by the life of Madam C.J. Walker. It's four episodes, but it's quite concise in that. Now, she was someone who was born in Louisiana 2 years after the 15th Amendment was passed. So she was the first one in her family to be born free. She had siblings who were born in slavery. And this woman was remarkable. She was the first Black woman to be a millionaire, I think probably anywhere. But what she did was she had started off with no education. She started off scrubbing floors. She started off it all over the place in shops, etc., etc. And she worked herself up because one of the things that she found was that her hair was very thin, and because they had such poor nutrition, it adversely affected the state of her scalp and her hair. So she started work selling hair products for Black women, and then created her own and became a millionaire. And she was very, very benevolent. She set up all sorts of schemes and supports for young Black entrepreneurs, children to get education. I mean, it sounds like she was completely inspirational. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yes, I think some of the stories of women, I mean, are just incredibly inspiring, well, for all women. And that's what we mean by intersectionality. We've all got far more in common every time than we've got differences. So we always finish on a Friday with a song from Angry Fish. We might have to banish him to the back of the aquarium to make sure it's not too loud. So if all you can see is a little bit of guitar, you'll know he's around the corner. Coming up on Monday, you've been talking to Noel, who's our engagement support officer, about the COVID-19 Community Champions Scheme. So he's going to appear on Update on Monday, isn't he?
We're filming it on Monday morning.
Right. And we've also, I know, got some update things from Josh, although the details escape me for a second. We will be looking at Josie Woods, pioneering dancer and photographer, Canning Town born. She wasn't a disabled artist, although she did live to her 90s, so I'm sure she ended up as one. But important to Black History Month. And we will be profiling another member of ACT UP Newham. We have other usual features then. I'm trying desperately to remember. Yes, we will be relaxing with Arwa. Arwa has her own channel now, Relax with Arwa. Sorry, getting to the end of Friday. We'll put that link up. If you want to do the full routine, that video will go up tomorrow. We will be doing the wind down on a Monday because Mondays are such stressful days. We thought that was a nice regular feature. So do enjoy the weekend. That's all from me. I'll get my other host to say goodbye, and then we will finish with Angry Fish singing not so loudly, but you might want to turn down your speakers just to be on the sure side.
Bye-bye. Have a good weekend.
Bye, guys. Enjoy your weekend.
Okay. So today I'm doing a song called Black Thursday, and it's, you know, I think that the lyrical content of this is as valuable and as accurate today and every day that I think about it. Black Thursday. Come and put your cross in this vacant box. Come and have your say. Make it count, 'cause it's election day. They didn't tell me they were lying. They didn't tell me they was treating me like a fool. Perhaps I should have known better. Should have known that there was more that I could do. Whatever, the result is still the same. The poor and the needy will be victims once again. There'll be blind boys in the gutter, the others behind locked doors. The government has screwed us, ain't no one us anymore. It's Black Thursday and the mission bell rings. Bring out your dying to do one last thing. Prove to us you're dead, it's the only way to gain some respect, 'cause right now it's Judgment Day. It was the bleakest Thursday ever for those of us who care. The pain in our hearts gone into the air. The hope in our hearts turned into despair. And nothing could prepare us for the pain in plain sight. It was just the beginning of the fight for our lives. Tears will flow and the anger will grow as we wave goodbye to the rights we all know. Whoa, tears will flow and the anger will grow as we wave goodbye to the rights we all know. Gentrification, justification, the cleansing and the propaganda, the weapon that fills the obsession, and all we need is a cure. Whoa, gentrification, justification, the cleansing and the propaganda, the weapon that fills the obsession, and all we need is a cure. Whoa, gentrification, justification, the cleansing and the propaganda, the weapon that fills the obsession, that all we need is a cure. There'll be blind boys in the gutter, there'll be others behind locked doors. The government is screwed as they don't want us anymore. There'll be blind boys in the gutter, there'll be others behind locked doors. The government is screwed as they don't want us anymore. It's Black Thursday and the mission bell rings. Bring out your dying to do one last thing. Prove to us you're dead, it's the only way to gain some respect. 'Cause right now it's Judgment Day. It's Black Thursday and the mission bell rings. Bring out your dying to do one last thing. Prove to us you're dead, it's the only way to gain some respect. 'Cause right now it's Judgment Day. Prove to us you're dead. It's the only way to gain some respect. 'Cause now is Judgment Day. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.